From the studios of Staten Island Community Television, you're watching In the Bleachers, the TV show for the world's most passionate sports fans. Hello, everyone. I'm Jaime Hixson.
And I am Hector Bosa, the hardest, baddest, sexiest man on cable access TV. Going via via phone today. Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
I said, Jamie, rock the world with your hands and clap them just like you don't care, because there have been massive trades. There have been little trades. The 49ers and Giants are trying to make a big wave.
Yeah, supposedly there's Odell Beckham trade rumors going around, but they made it loud and clear. The Giants GM made it loud and clear. He's not sending him away anywhere. So whatever talk you hear, it's just that. It's talk. And if the Giants are going to make a deal, it's going to have to be a hell of a deal for the Giants to change their minds. There better be some number one draft picks. There better be some frontline players that the Giants can use to try and win immediately, because if not, OBJ is going to be a Giant next year.
Well, OBJ, and let me see who they're trying to report. 49ers.
They did make one deal though, because the Giants did trade away Olivier Vernon.
Now, was that something that was worth it, or was it something that you're going scratching your head?
No, that definitely was worth it, because Vernon was really a fish out of water playing in that Giant scheme defensively. He really could not figure out any of the schemes that the Giants were using. So now the Giants decided to make a deal, and as it turns out, they wind up getting some offensive line help in return, because not only do they send away Vernon, he goes to the Browns for a former All-Pro offensive lineman, Kevin Zeitler, who I think should be a major help for them next season.
And the Giants got rid of London Collins.
Landon Collins is officially a Redskin now. He just got a new deal with them.
$84 million.
Yeah. And a lot of people are not happy with them letting Landon Collins go the way they did, but...
Well, he didn't want the price tag of, what was that called?
He didn't want that franchise tag that a lot of teams use to put on a player that they feel is their most important player.
And, you know, people were saying that they should have kept him. They're crazy for letting him go. Now, why do you think they traded him? Because he wanted to leave? Or because, and how does that contract go again, if you know?
Well, he wound up signing for, I think, about 4 years. So, since there's going to be a new deal for him, it looks like they're going to have to try and make another deal to get a linebacker, or maybe use that number one pick, which is 6th overall in the first round, to try and get a linebacker.
Yes, but the problem that you have here is, why did so many people want him? Why? What is it? And what is that franchise deal? How do you?
The franchise? You mean the franchise or transition player?
The franchise deal. How does that work for those people that don't know?
If a player, in case they don't know, the franchise player tag is when they use a particular tag on a player who they feel not only is their most important player, but they're unable to agree to a long-term contract with them. So they automatically put that tag on him. It's effective for 1 year, and then the following year after that, they can try and negotiate a new deal. Or maybe they could negotiate a new deal for him once they place the tag on him.
And you think that's what the Giants were trying to do?
I think the Giants were interested in putting a franchise tag on him, because they really did value Collins, as a matter of fact, because he was one of their few good defensive players that they had last season. But there are some guys who really hate the franchise tag being put on them because they don't get as much money that they feel like they're worth. So now that the Giants decided not to put the tag on him, they decided to turn him loose. Not only does he get a new deal, he gets a new deal with the Giants' biggest rival, which is the Redskins. So you know that he's going to lick his chops every time he makes his way to MetLife Stadium to play a big game against the Giants.
And how many times do they normally play? About 4 times?
They play each other twice.
Because they're in the same division.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they don't play more in their division instead of the outer division.
I think the reason why is because since there are so many teams in the conference, which is 16, they want to be able to put the schedule in for some opponents in the conference that have at least a bit of a rivalry with them going back to the old days.
Well, that's good, but I think they should concentrate more. I mean, what is it? They play 2-1-1, or is it 2-2-2, all 16 get twice?
It's 2-2-2 within each division. So they have to play the Cowboys, the Eagles, and the Redskins twice, and then they have to play
the Niners twice and them other people twice.
They have to play one division, all 4 teams, and then the remaining 2 divisions, 2 teams each, and then there's the AFC schedule that they have to accommodate, which means, let's see, I think next season the Giants are playing the AFC East, which means they got the Jets next year.
Boy, that's going to be something.
I'm already looking forward to it. Jets and Giants. If I'm not mistaken, I think next season the Jets are going to be the home team in their meeting with the Giants.
And that's the dumbest. Well, anyway, I'm not going
to. By the way, the real numbers on Landon Collins' contract with the Redskins, he got 6 years and $84 million.
Yeah, that's what I said. $84 million. I didn't
$84 million. And it turns out the Redskins weren't the only big. They were not the only team to make a big deal, because the Eagles, not only did they make a trade to send away Michael Bennett, they also got back a familiar face, Deshaun Jackson. They wound up acquiring him from Tampa. And the former quarterback, Nick Foles, just got a new contract with Jacksonville.
So, Philly's doing well, I'm assuming now, more so than ever. And the Giants seem up in the air as if they're trying to transition you, but because the Giants interested in plugging second hole?
Yeah. Right now, they've already made one good deal. Even though it was for Olivier Vernon, they still made a good deal trying to get the offensive lineman that they did from the Browns, which was Zeitler. So hopefully he'll be able to plug a hole, one of the holes on the O-line for them.
And it's funny because I'm still trying to figure out. I mean, I understand there'll always be feelers out there to get Odell Beckham Jr. But would you trade him for Matt Miller?
Matt Miller. It's impossible to try and give up on a talent like Beckham so quickly. Not only that, but who can really afford his contract? He got a big deal with the Giants before last season, and I'm not really sure if anybody can even afford him. To answer your question, the answer is no. You just don't trade a generational talent like him.
So all you have to do is try to get another wide receiver and try to get a comparison to him. That way you have a threat.
Yeah. And because the Giants, they also have Sterling Shepard. And the Giants also have Sterling Shepard as a 1-2 duo. Maybe if, I would say, maybe DK Metcalf from Mississippi falls into their lap at number 6, I would probably grab him in a heartbeat. Or if there's a quarterback that falls by the wayside to number 6, say maybe Dwayne Haskins.
Now, the Jets also signed Pulley, an offensive lineman.
Yeah, they also the Jets also made a deal not too long ago to get an offensive lineman, and I'm gonna see if I can get all the info on them now.
Because I know it's Pulley, number 77.
Yeah. I'm still trying to find out what the situation is regarding the particulars. And I just saw that both Dwayne Haskins and Kyler Murray say that they would look really, really dangerous wearing a Giant uniform. But let me tell you, a lot of these Ohio State quarterbacks don't necessarily transition well to the NFL. One of them actually got turned into a wide receiver, which is Terrell Pryor.
You know, at least they could use him as a flea flicker once in a while, just to fool the team, because you hardly ever see those things anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You hardly ever see the double reverse. Not that it works a lot of times.
Right.
But you don't see them, and then when you do see them, oh, what a trick play! It hasn't been. They should be doing that more instead of. I mean,
be that as it may, you have to run those trick plays at the right time, because if they try and do a double reverse or a flea flicker, and the defense sees it, then the fans are gonna just cry foul and say, "What did they run that play for?"
Yeah, but that's normal. I mean, if it works, the fans go bananas, and if it doesn't work, the fans will boo you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't please everybody.
Yep.
And that was one of the things.
And for the record, the offensive lineman that the Jets wound up acquiring was from the Raiders. It's Kelechi Osemele, who wound up being a Pro Bowler for them the previous couple of years.
So they're stacking up. Now I'm hearing that they want to probably get quarterbacks in the free market. Free agency
Quite possibly. Market. And the Jets also wound up getting a receiver, Jamison Crowder from the Redskins. Gave him $28.5 million.
I was hearing that they just want another quarterback.
I honestly have no idea why. I mean,
I'm going, wait a minute.
Unless they want to get another veteran who can serve as Sam Darnold's backup. Unless you want to talk about that.
Wait a minute. Jets could be landing for Ryan Tannehill?
Oh, no, not Ryan Tannehill, please. Not Ryan Tannehill, please. He could not make it with the Dolphins. What makes anybody think that he can try and make it with the Jets?
It says here, Jets could be landing spot for Ryan Tannehill. Just interested in Ravens linebacker T.J. Mosley.
T.J. Mosley, yes, but not Ryan Tannehill. Please.
Well, what's wrong with him?
He's maddeningly inconsistent. That's what's wrong with him. For all that talent that he has, he couldn't even break 500 as a 7-year starter.
But
I would say the only reason why he would be getting a spot on the Jets roster was because he's one of Adam Gase's boys. But I wouldn't touch Ryan Tannehill with a 10-foot pole.
Did he work with him? I mean,
Yeah, Ryan Tannehill was Adam Gase's quarterback for 4 years.
And then he did well for him.
He was erratic at best. I mean, he had his moments where he could throw a 70 to 80-yard bomb one moment, and then the next moment he would have a red zone situation or a goal-to-goal situation. He would not get the ball in the end zone.
And a new deal for cornerback Darryl Roberts.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting, I mean, give the Jets credit. If they sign some people finally, then the stuff that we were talking about last week about how the Jets don't open up their purses and how the Mets don't open up their purses, and that the only people that open up their purses are the Yankees, and the Knicks do it, but they do it stupidly.
Yeah. You know how the Jets can really open up their wallets? Get Le'Veon Bell. He's the prime free agent target that's out there right now, and I know that the Jets are interested in him, but so are the Raiders, who, by the way, now have Antonio Brown.
Wow. Now, each team is doing well. I mean, for crying out loud. What's the biggest trade? Antonio Brown right now?
Antonio Brown, by far, is the biggest deal that has been made in the offseason. And I also saw that Terrell Suggs, who spent 16 years playing for the Ravens, is going to go back to his old stomping grounds in Arizona and play for the Cardinals because he started his college career at Arizona State.
Any other ones that you know about?
Frank Gore signed for next year with Buffalo for only $2 million. He does not know the meaning of the word retirement.
Why would you?
I mean,
if
he wasn't particularly.
You can do it.
I mean, he didn't have great numbers last year. I mean, he was okay, but I guess he's somebody to give the Bills insurance in case something happens with LaShawn McCoy.
Well, think of it this way. Let's say they have him for short term in case they need somebody right quick. Because he's a guy that can probably give you enough yards, but you don't have to use him much because you got other players. Now, if you need, it's like being a specialty. He's a special.
Mm-hmm.
You only put him on special plays. Hey, he's going to go in there. He's going to get the ball. But you know what? He's going to get that yardage.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna make the play for you. So no matter what happens, whether they know about it or not, that man's going to make the play for you. So it's not like what the Knicks did to Maurice Cheeks, the poor man, where they said we're not going to use him so much. He's just going to be a sit. He's going to teach the starters. He's going to be good. He's not going to come off the bench. What did he do? Had to play the entire game one time, and you see him with an oxygen mask.
Well,
and that's not what he wasn't built. He wasn't supposed to be built for that. He was supposed to be built for come-in spots and so forth.
Tell you what, though, I remember when they made that trade, they gave up Rod Strickland for him, and Strickland had a long career, whereas Cheeks, he was pretty much on the in the twilight of his career. But that
he
one
did well for
series.
For that 1 year.
That one series that he played against the Celtics, he really sparked that come-from-behind series victory, 2-0 down, to help beat the Celtics then. And that fifth game, Patrick wound up being the best player on the court, but Mo was really underrated and a real unsung hero for that team.
Yes, but that was the problem though, because Mo wasn't supposed to be doing all that. At the time, Mark Jackson had the yips or something, because he had the audacity to say, "Well, they thought this was a bad thing to say that he can learn from me." And I'm going, he's an old guy. He can probably learn one or two things, but you got to learn from the master.
Mm-hmm.
And Maurice Cheeks was one of the best guards at the time for Philly.
Yeah. Helped to win a championship.
And so with Mark Jackson coming out and saying, what is it? I am the God, something God in it. And I'm going, wow. And the Daily News put a big quote on it and so forth. It was ridiculously funny. But he got harassed very badly because he lost the starting job to Maurice Cheeks. That was the thing that killed me.
Well, he lost the starting job because he was not playing well at that time.
Yeah.
Not only that, but there was a major point guard controversy between Jackson and Strickland then. But
And
the
you
only
know
reason
what?
why Strickland got traded was because of his attitude.
And again, a young dude, young guy. He played well, but he played erratically. But when he was good, he was another one. When he was good, he was great. When he was bad, forget about it. That's like most of the Knicks team that you had, except for the best team that they had when they had Oakley, Mason. Even Mason was talking crap about, oh, let me bring up the ball. I can dribble. And he could, because he used to do it in college.
Yeah, he
But
was
they
very
never gave him a chance.
he was multi-talented, the late great Anthony Mason. But
You know,
one thing,
and-
there were a couple of reasons why he wound up getting booted out of New York. One, because he wound up getting a little bit of jealousy from teammates because Don Nelson wanted to turn him into a point forward and make him the focal point of the offense and not Patrick Ewing. And two, Patrick and Mason never got along.
And that's a shame. That really was a shame. But let me ask you, going back to football for a moment. Anything else happening from any other trades that you know of?
Well, I mentioned before that Nick Foles wound up going to Jacksonville, so he's going to be the Jaguars' starting quarterback. And Detroit made a pretty big deal, getting Trey Flowers for 5 years. He's the former Patriots defensive lineman. And the 49ers wound up getting Quan Alexander for 4 years and $54 million.
So each team so far is actually getting what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Assumingly so.
Oh, and Danny Amendola, I saw, after getting released by the Dolphins, he quickly hooked up with the Lions for next year.
Mm.
And it looks like not only the Jets are interested in Le'Veon Bell, but so are the Raiders. The Raiders, I'm telling you, they may do a lot of stupid things in their front office because they have the football IQ of a lemon.
Yes.
But at least they're targeting the right guys to try and make better for next season. They already have Antonio Brown. Now they want to get Le'Veon Bell. The question is, what's going to be of the quarterback, Derek Carr? Are they going to bring him back next year, or are they going to trade him away and hopefully draft somebody like, say, Kyler Murray or Dwayne Haskins?
Now they should target the one the Jets want.
Oh, we'll see.
The one that you disliked.
Yeah, right. Let's see exactly how that guy does in the black hole. Tell you what, though. The black hole is not going to be in Oakland much longer. It's going to be in Vegas soon. But at least we know that the Raiders are going to be calling Oakland home for next year. And it could be that they call Oakland home in 2020 as well. Because from what I understand, the new stadium in Vegas may not be ready by 2021.
You know, it's a shame that that these teams. I mean, I know why they do it for tax purposes and money purposes and all, but it's a shame when you have to go and you know them so well as the Oakland Raiders. Even though they play when they used to play in Los Angeles, you have to say the Los Angeles Raiders.
Yeah.
Or the Los Angeles Angels.
Mm-hmm.
For crying out loud, I know change is expected.
Let me tell you, the Raiders were a marketing hit in L.A. They sold a lot of Raider hats and Raider shirts. I know they were huge in the African American community in L.A.
Yeah, well, look at the colors.
Silver and black.
Exactly. No, look at the colors. Look how people dressed. I mean, in general, they had a lot of people in their hands.
Mm-hmm.
And yet somehow, because of tax purposes and so on, they get to go. And then the Oakland Raiders are no more. The same way you don't have the Seattle Sonics, Supersonics, and you had to change the Washington Bullets name because it caused stirred up because it said bullet. And I think that's kind of ridiculous too, because we as adults should know that a bullet, big deal. It's only a team name. It's not supposed to be. You're supposed to teach the kids that a bullet kills, but the Washington Bullets do not kill. They just run fast, shoot the ball, and play defense.
You're forgetting the current nickname that the Washington franchise has, the Wizards.
Yes, exactly.
The Wizards drew tons of criticism from the black community in D.C. because it made reference to the Grand Wizard of the KKK.
And again, to me, that's stupid. I mean, for crying out loud. Really? People thought that. People actually thought that meant the Grand Wizard of... I think of Wizard as Harry Potter.
That's the first thing I thought of. When I think of wizards, I think of magicians.
Exactly. And people are taking things the wrong way. And we have become to the point where we've become too PC. People are getting offended too damn quickly. Look at James Dolan.
Oh, I don't want to look at James Dolan.
Sell the team, and the guy gets thrown out.
You know,
and they don't know if he's out for life.
What
or
a
they don't know if he's out for
jerk!
Them. Now they did
this
say
devil is.
They did say what I was reading was that if he wants to treat his garden like his house, then he should not be getting the tax breaks that he's getting. Because and they're saying that there's a rule not to be disrespectful. Saying to someone, trade the team, is not disrespectful. That's it's saying what people have been telling you for years. And if you're that thin-skinned, so this is another, and this is another lump in his tree. You're trying to get these fabulous players. You're trying to get Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and all them players to want it to. The other people are trying to say, listen, we're a different team, we're a different Knicks organization, and here comes Dum Dum doing it again. And then when the Knicks don't get Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving and so on, don't blame the front office. Blame James Dolan. People should start sending tons of emails and regular mail if they know how to write to James Dolan. Because this is getting ridiculous.
Watch. He's only going to be sending those letters back and saying we don't want you in our building anymore. And that's what happened.
Fine.
Somebody actually wrote him.
I don't go there anyway.
Somebody actually wrote him a letter voicing his complaints about that Devils ownership, you know that Devil had the nerve to write him back and say, go root for the Brooklyn Nets because we don't want you in our building anymore?
You know, they're allowed to say whatever they want, but they can't stop somebody from getting tickets. That's my point. And with Dolan, it's different because once he throws you out, look at Oakley. Look what he did to Oakley.
He embarrassed that man.
He embarrassed the hell out of that man. And then, as I said before, he is a team that's trying to get people to say, come, we're a different team. And you got James Dolan doing what he does best, screwing it up. Doing to his best of his ability to screw it up. And
Amazing.
then when he's going and saying, hey, guys, really, I'm good. I'm a good guy.
He never was a good guy.
How can you be a good guy if you do stupid things like this? That's my point. It's not and then you got poor Fitzdale and the other guys trying to calm everybody down by going, no, really, he's a good guy. He just opened his mouth. Don't worry about it.
No, he's not a good guy.
Come
I know for a fact this guy is a complete jerk.
And I know that, and I agree with you on that, and I really do. I'm just saying, here are the supposedly new New York Knicks with the new front office trying to tell people, hey, no, we're a different team, and here comes James Dolan doing that nonsense.
The more things change, the more they change the same. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Well, all I know is that whoever wrote that piece on the Knicks saying that if he wants to treat it like a house, Senator suggests shifting MSG taxes breaks after Dolan bans fan. That's the article. It's a Daily News article, I think. He's
done the same thing to reporters. Reporters who've roasted him for the right reasons, he's banned them too.
And you know what? And here's the thing. If he wants to play it that way, and he's saying that that's disrespectful, that's not disrespectful. Why can't people voice their opinion? Players are starting to strike back. You can't even say you stink anymore to a player. You're allowed to voice certain things at a player because you've paid your dues.
You know, just for once, I want to see not just one individual, but all 19,000 fans tell him to sell the team. Start a chant. Sell the team or F you Dolan. Just for once. I want to see whoever runs the Garden Vision inside the building to put the camera on this guy. That way they can boo him so loudly that it would make Philadelphia fans blush.
Yeah, I hope they do because
what's he gonna do then? Is he gonna ban all 19,000 fans that showed up then? I don't think so. He doesn't have that kind of power.
But I think the senator is right. If you're going to treat it like a house, if you're going to treat it like your house, and he's saying that that's disrespectful speaking, how is it saying sell the team disrespectful? If that's what people, it's because he's thin-skinned. That's all it is. It's thin-skinned. So that's one of the problems that I have. And even although he hasn't butt in yet with the front office, he's letting them do what they're supposed to do. As long as he doesn't go crazy and say, oh, I want this guy, and then let's sell half the team like we did for Carmelo Anthony. Because that's what he did. He put his fingers into it, and Walsh didn't want to do that trade. He didn't want to do that trade. But because Dolan had his fingers in it, so far I give Dolan this much for even though he's stupid. He hasn't butt in on the team yet.
Just watch.
He hasn't butt in on the team yet.
Just watch. There's going to come a time I guarantee that there's going to come a time when a situation arises and he's going to get his grimy hands all over that poor franchise. That once proud franchise.
Yeah. And the thing is also, they go to the Knicks. I mean, you can't blame people that want to see the Knicks because they're fans. And people always say, well, for one time, we should all ban them. We shouldn't go to the Knicks for one time. And the poor guy that spent thousands of dollars for that one particular seat because he only goes one time a year, or the guy that spends the $20 that he barely has for the cheap seats to take, let's say, his son, daughter, or himself, to treat himself just this one time, those people are not going to do it. And you can't blame them because they want to see their team. Okay, you can't blame them for that. But
See,
I wish there was a way to hurt this guy. And I don't mean physically. I mean a way to hurt this guy so that he knows that, hey, listen, stop doing such stupidity. And
this is exactly where the NBA really needs to step in. You know, I remember 40 years ago, when the Giants went 17 years in a row without one single playoff game, 17 years of no playoffs, the NFL had to step in because of the atrocities that were happening with the Giants. A lot of it had to do with the major feud that was going on within the Mara family. And what did Pete Rozelle do? Pete Rozelle was the commissioner at the time.
Yeah.
He handpicked George Young from his own front office and assigned him to be the Giants' general manager. And from there on out, everything turned around for that franchise.
Well, look what they did with the New York Yankees.
Yeah, I remember that too. Some lowlife was paid by Mr. Steinbrenner $40,000 to get some dirt on Dave Winfield. And as it turns out, not only was the lowlife busted, Mr. Steinbrenner got banned for 2 years.
Wasn't it? I thought it was about the Nixon thing.
Actually, that was 15 years before.
I remember
the Richard Nixon.
Ralph Niederlander.
Yeah. And Rob Niederlander ran the team for 2 years. He did a great job with that franchise. And you know what he did? One of the first things that he did was make Gene Michael the general manager. And from there on out, we wound up seeing a whole bunch of things wind up snowball. Drafting Bernie Williams, drafting Jorge Posada, drafting Andy Pettitte, drafting Derek Jeter, making the trade for Paul O'Neill. And for the record, Bernie Williams was actually before the Howie Spira thing. Bernie was signed, I think, around 1986 or 87. Around this, I think around the same time that Mariano Rivera was signed. But the point is, when Steinbrenner was gone for 2 years, the Yankees were left alone. And they finally were able to show some signs of making a comeback in the game. And once
mind you, although Steinbrenner tried to do the best, he also tried to bring the best players because he overpaid for Reggie Jackson. He got you Reggie Jackson.
Who got them 2 titles.
A lot of players. He did get a lot of great players. The problem was that every time he used to get these players, the farm system got so bad that when he needed to, bring up someone, remember when they wanted the speed team, Roy Smalley and all them other guys?
I remember. Roy Smalley, Bobby Meacham, Wayne Tollison.
That was supposed to be small ball.
Yeah, and it failed miserably. And it's an interesting thing that you mentioned Reggie, who helped the Yankees win 3 pennants and 2 titles. because for every Reggie and Bucky Dent and Goose Gossage deal that Mr. Steinbrenner made, there were also Bobby Meacham, Roy Smalley, Wayne Tollison, Jack Clark, who lasted a year.
Well, he lasted a year and then he retired, I think, because he couldn't do it anymore.
He actually went to San Diego for one more year, and I think he wound up calling it a career.
Didn't we have Cecil Field there one year?
That was during the championship season, which is 96. He was there in 96 and 97.
And he didn't do anything, did he? I don't remember.
Cecil Fielder got some big hits in the playoffs for the Yankees during that championship run. He gave them the lead against Texas in Game 4, and then there was Game 5 of the World Series against the Braves. He drove home Charlie Hayes with a double.
Oh, yeah. Remember Steve Kemp?
I remember Steve Kemp very well. 3 years and $5.45 million he wound up spending, Mr. Steinbrenner did, to get Steve Kemp. And what happened? Steve Kemp hit about 10 to 15 home runs for the whole season.
And he would have brought back Billy Martin how many times if he didn't die?
Before Billy passed away in that truck accident, he was hired and fired 5 different times.
And he was ready to hire him again.
Exactly right. That's another problem. George kept on firing all of his managers because he thought he knew more baseball than the managers did. You know how many managers he went through in 17 years? 17 managers.
17?
17 managers. Going back to when he bought the Yankees from CBS in 73, he fired Bill Verdon in favor of Billy, and then he had Billy for parts of 2 years and parts of 2 others. Then he had Bob Lemon, Clyde King. Dick Hauser managed the Yankees for a year. Gene Michael managed the Yankees for a short time. Dallas Green managed them. Lou Piniella managed them twice.
Yeah, Dallas Green that wasn't very good for Dallas.
No.
No.
And there was also Bucky Dent and Stump Merrill.
Stump Merrill, he was another one that had a bad year.
Lasted a year and a half, and he wound up getting fired. But then, who replaced him? Buck Showalter.
Buck Showalter, that's a guy that I'm surprised. He's a good builder, as they like to say. He's a good builder, but once he builds you, that's it. You got to get rid of him.
He had a pretty good shelf life in Baltimore, though.
Then they must be getting new guys all the time, or he must have changed, because he had a reputation of we could only take so much of Buck Showalter.
Yeah, the problem was Showalter was a really strict disciplinarian. I mean, he really laid down the law on the bench and in the locker room. And because of that, it rubbed a few players the wrong way, especially a lot of the veterans.
And that was the thing, when you're a vet of 10 years, they'll change, but they'll only change so much. They're not going to change everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're saying in their heads, you need me, I don't need you.
Yeah.
That's like Billy Martin trying to get getting Reggie Jackson off the field because he thought he didn't hustle.
And that really caused a stir. When they caught that on television, on NBC that day 40 years ago, that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and it embarrassed both of those guys.
Because then you have people going, wait a minute, he's the manager. He's supposed to do what the manager's supposed to do. But wait a minute, how do you know you had such controversy there because you didn't know what to think? Because you have people going, he's the manager, he's the one that you should listen to. And then you have other people going, no, wait a minute, how do you know he wasn't hustling? So
How do we really know if Reggie was hustling or not that day in Boston 42 years ago?
I mean, he says himself, I was hustling. Now, Ricky Henderson used to hustle, I think, when he wanted to run.
Yeah. Oh, that was a guy that really dogged it every single time.
And Henderson, at his best, nobody can touch him.
Yeah.
Because he knew how to read the signal of the catcher.
And he could read a pitcher too. He could tell whether a pitcher was the type that had a slow delivery or if he knew how to hold runners on first base.
Yeah,
and that's why he stole over 1,000 bases for his career.
And you don't hear about these guys anymore, do you? They're not even around anymore.
No. Tell you
don't
what.
hear about Dave Righetti or
Dave, I know,
Nelson.
was a pitching coach with the Giants for a while.
Yeah, but you don't hear about the old Yankees coming back anymore. You don't.
Well,
I mean, unless they're really old.
Well, a lot of them passed away. Don't forget, a lot of them passed away. If I'm not mistaken, I think the only guy that's still around is Whitey Ford.
I'm not talking about that far. I mean, I'm not saying that far back. I'm talking about like a Greg Nettles, Chris Chambliss.
That's probably
Willie Randolph.
That's
what
probably
happened
because
to these guys.
That's probably because they're working for other organizations and they have to tend to their responsibilities with their organization.
No, I understand, but
Chris
you don't
Chambliss,
hear
I
from
know,
them.
he's been working all over baseball. He's been with the Braves. He's been with the Indians.
Because you don't hear from them anymore. I mean, once, you know, they were once kings at one point, and then after a certain age, you know, that's a dying breed until they have. Because I think the Yankees are the only one that has the All-Star game anymore.
You mean the old-timers game?
The old-timers game.
If I'm not mistaken, the Mets brought it back a few years ago, but they haven't decided to commit to it full-time.
And the Yankees are the only ones that really do it. Because you do want to see Mariano come back. You do want to see those people come back. But because so many of them are dying off, there's nobody to bring back.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I guess the only thing they can do is probably bring back some of the younger guys, like Mo and Posada and Scott Brocious.
Yeah,
When Brocious is not working. I know for a fact Scott Brocious was not able to attend last year because he's third base coach for the Mariners.
Well, that's good. At least you're hearing something because, good Lord, you don't really hear nothing from nobody anymore. You used to hear from people.
Mm-hmm.
You
Paul
know,
O'Neill, of course, is still working
to
with the Yes Network, so naturally he's going to be there.
Oh yeah, but you got you know, and I feel bad for Tom Seaver having dementia.
Yeah, and he's 72 years old now.
That's a shame. Dementia and a lot of those mental issues are really bad.
And before that, even before his dementia, he was in poor health because from what I understood, he was suffering from Lyme disease.
Yeah, Lyme disease is no joke either, boy.
Yeah.
That's for damn sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to tell you, you know, it's a shame that you don't hear. I don't know. Give Steinbrenner credit for one thing. When he was alive, he may have fired you, but he would rehire you.
Yeah.
He took care. It seemed like he took care of his players, his older players, and so forth.
He took care of his players. He took care of some of his guys in the front office.
I don't know.
He even took care of total strangers. For example, I think he worked a lot with the families of fallen police officers and firefighters. And that was something that he did not want people to know about him. He did not want people to know about his charitable contributions.
He wanted to be the Steinbrenner of how they used to. Remember how they used to call him Adolf Steinbrenner?
You mean General von Steingraber?
Steinbrenner? Yeah.
Oh, you know what's ironic about that cartoon? Bill Gallo was famous for that cartoon. Mr. Steinbrenner loved seeing himself in that caricature in the Daily News. He would always say, "Okay, let me go see what Bill Gallo has to say about me today." He loved that cartoon.
Because, I'm sure and now, because we live in the world of PC, that would have been offensive.
Mm-hmm.
But thank goodness at that time we didn't have so much PC. I mean, like I said before, I'm glad we have some PC to some degree.
Yeah.
But when you overreact to every single word of every single thing, you start going nuts, and you don't know how to speak English anymore.
Yeah.
But, going back to, baseball, no major trades. Now that two major trades have been signed for 12 years and for 10 years.
Yeah. Manny Machado got 10 years and $300 million from the Padres. And of all people, the Phillies signed Bryce Harper for 13 years and $330 million. You know what's even more astounding about the deal that Bryce Harper signed? Bryce Harper turned down $45 million per year from the Dodgers.
For 7 years, though.
For only 4 years.
And I don't know what is it with these guys that want to stay for 12, but
they want that security. These
get
athletes, they don't like bouncing around from one city to another, man. Unless
I get it.
Unless a one-year deal is the only thing they can get, they want that security.
And they want to get paid.
And they want to get paid.
I understand that. But, you're 26, and by the time at that, whatever year his contract ends, that's going to be the smallest amount.
Yeah.
That amount is going to be laughable.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've gone to, remember, Dave Winfield at one point was supposed to be the biggest contract in the world.
And you know what he signed
now
for?
Now it's a laughable contract.
10 years and $30 million. And looking back on it now, today, that would have been chump change. Back then, he broke the bank.
Exactly.
And David had a pretty good career with the Yankees. I mean, he was a multi-time All-Star who drove in 100 runs a year more than once. His problem was he only played one playoff appearance, and that was when he went 1 for 22 against the Dodgers in the World Series back in '81.
And
at least Dave got the championship that he always wanted because he won a title with the Blue Jays.
Yeah, and you know what? He went in as a Padre?
He went in as a Padre because he started his career as a Padre.
And the funny thing was he was going to go in as a Marlin because they paid him to go as a Marlin. They paid him, and they said, no. They had to stop that.
Mm-hmm.
They don't decide anymore how they get in.
Yeah.
It's it used to be the players. Now it's, I forgot who. But the third baseman for the Boston Red Sox, Wade
Boggs?
Wade Boggs. He went in as a Yankee or he went in as a Boston?
I think he went in as a Boston Red Sox because his history is with the Red Sox. He spent 11 years of his career there.
How many years did he spend with the Yankees?
He had 5 years with the Yankees.
Okay, so he could have picked either or. That's a reasonable. That's kind of reasonable when you're going, okay, 5 to 10, and he had his best years there too.
Mm-hmm.
He was the Yankee killer.
That's
Good
right.
Lord. But now that you see the Yankees of new, the Jets of new, the Knicks of new, the Devils, the Rangers, even the New York Cosmo of the new, what do you think of them right now?
You mean the franchises as we speak?
As we speak now, are they really new or are they just paper? Or are they just nothing?
Oh, they're definitely not nothing. I mean, just because the Knicks are a cesspool of incompetence doesn't mean that they're any less valuable. I mean, I think they're one of the 3 most valuable NBA franchises in the league behind the Lakers.
I just hope. I mean, there's already monopolies enough as it is in the world, and because of a certain thing that happened during the White House stages, that they open up the gate for people to have more monopoly. But it's bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. But most of all, you know, when you have Shea Stadium and it's not called Shea Stadium anymore because you got Citibank
getting the naming rights.
It's ridiculous. You want it always to be Shea.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that because the Mets sell T-shirts with the message on it that says, "I still call it Shea."
Good.
So obviously, there's going to be some nostalgia there.
There has to be. I mean, you still see people with the Brooklyn shirt on.
Brooklyn Dodgers, yeah.
The Brooklyn Dodgers shirt on.
And the Brooklyn Dodgers hats. Those Brooklyn Dodgers hats are commanding tons of money.
And you still see them to this day.
Mm-hmm. Even though like 90% of the people that wear the hats are not even from Brooklyn, they're from probably elsewhere on the island.
Yeah, but they were people that I think it was you that told me, or someone that told me, that most of the people that go to the Mets, the Cyclones are the Brooklyn Knights.
Yeah.
The ones that were used to seeing the Brooklyn Dodgers there.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the Brooklyn Giants also.
And the New York Giants, you mean? The New York baseball Giants.
Too, yeah. I mix them two up sometimes. But that's something, though, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Boy, I tell you, you think, now, you said to yourself, Odell Beckham Jr., should he be traded if a good trade comes along? What would you need to trade him, in your opinion?
I would need a pair of first-round draft picks. Well, but not necessarily a pair. Multiple first-round draft picks, multiple second-round picks, and I would need maybe a defensive player in return. But first and foremost, we need some draft picks in the worst way.
So you would say two this year, 2 next year, or 2
one this year, one
year.
Next year, and hopefully 1 the year after that. And as far as second or third round picks, 1 of each this year and next year, and possibly 1 of a second round pick the third year, and an impact defensive player.
Boy, you're really shooting for the stars there.
Yeah.
That's a lot. What was the last big trade? The last big trade was the Herschel Walker trade.
Oh, wow. The trade that the Vikings are still reeling from 30 years later.
Oh, man. That was a hard trade.
Yeah.
Giving up all those players. The Nets, too.
Mm-hmm.
The Nets, too, they had it won. They were saying, that's it. We're going to win. Let's do it this year.
And they failed miserably. Got 1 second-round appearance, and that was it. Well, unfortunately, we have just over 30 seconds left, so we're going to say thank you to Hector.
Thank you to everybody that's listening in the world today.
Mm-hmm. Thanks to Kenny on the other side of the glass, of course, and thanks to everyone at home for watching.
Yes. Thank you very much for one and all, for listening to us be nostalgic for a change.
For everyone here, I'm Jamie.
I'm Hector.
Good night, everyone.